Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is Friday, the 22nd of March, 2024, and these are the stories that we will be trying to understand, decipher during the course of this show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the situation as far as Taliban Pakistan and its infiltration into Pakistan through Pakistani soil to destabilize Pakistan and to indulge in nefarious activities that have caused the deaths of many in Pakistan, especially our security forces and our civilians, as well as in the injuries to so many others. Pakistan has time and again reiterated to the Afghan side that it needs to curtail the activities of the TTP and other such organizations from propagating such activities into Pakistani soil and also in other soil, on other soils as well. This said, the Defence Minister Khawaja Saab has also recently said that Islamabad does not want an armed conflict with the neighboring country. In an interview with the Voice of America, he said, "Force is the last resort. We don't want to have an armed conflict with Afghanistan." Of course, this is in retrospect of what happened on the 18th of March when Pakistan carried out an intelligence-based anti-terrorist operation on the border regions inside of Afghanistan. Strong condemnation also of the terrorist attack that happened in Dera Ismail Khan by Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif. The fact is that such terrorist activities are going on within Pakistan, and organizations like the TTP are behind it. The Interior Minister also says a National Counter-Terrorism Authority will be restructured on modern lines to counter such terrorist threats. This and more will be discussed in our first segment. Our second story concerns the Indian official who have been involved in the murder of the Sikh leader Pannu in the United States. As they say, has now become the rogue assassin's wig spearheaded by Narendra Modi and his BJP-led government. A report by Bloomberg highlights this very aspect of the involvement of an Indian official in the murder attempt on Pannu, who is a Sikh leader and is an American national. The US has also time and again highlighted this. Recently also, this is something that has been projected towards India, that it needs to do the needful. But will India do needful? Because it is what it is doing, perpetrating terrorism, whether it be trans-regional or transnational in the region and across the globe. And of course, nobody is stopping India directly because of its geo-economic proportions in the region. Narendra Modi's government has also approached a major Indian think tank to develop a homegrown democracy rating index. Why? Because there are so many rating index that have downgraded India because of its involvement in such activities. This is going to be our second story. Then we are going to talk about global sea levels. We have jumped due to El Nino. This has been said by NASA. Global average sea levels rose by 0.3 inches from 2022 to 2023, nearly 4 times the increase of the previous year. Of course, this analysis is based on more than 30 years of satellite observation. The fact is that the sea levels are rising, and all the changes that are happening are also related to climate change. But will we take the necessary measures before it's too late is the major question. Then finally, we are going to talk about the World Water Day. The Water for Peace is the theme of this year's World Water Day. Action for water is action for peace, and today it is needed more than ever. A lot of people say that the wars in the future will be fought on water. Our world is in turbulent waters as well. Conflicts are raging, inequality is rife, pollution and biodiversity loss are rampant, and our planet is heating up. Seas are rising, rain patterns are changing, and river flows are shrinking. This results in droughts in some regions and floods and coastal erosion in others. And Pakistan has been, subject to the floods in 2022 as well. This is going to be our last story. Let's begin with our first, and that concerns the TTP that is gaining its foothold in Afghanistan and is apparently being given a free rein by the Afghan interim government. There are different reasons for it. One is that it doesn't want it to go and become allies with the other organizations such as the ISIK, but this is just one minor issue that might be hindering. Is the fact, the actual fact is that Afghanistan is becoming slowly and steadily the hub of militant and terrorist organizations, whether it be the TTP, whether it be the Al-Qaeda, whether it be the ISIK and so many others. We've been joined by Zahir Shah Sherazi, senior analyst, to discuss that and more. Zahir Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Zahir Sahab, the Foreign Office on Thursday reiterated Pakistan's desire to address the issue of terrorism with Afghanistan through dialogue and cooperation. Also, Defense Minister Khawaja Asif, in an interview with the Voice of America that was published on Wednesday, said Islamabad does not want an armed conflict with the neighborhood country. When you look at all the events that are happening, even now recently, 2 militants were killed, 2 others injured in an exchange of fire in North Waziristan. Do you feel that Pakistan's genuine concern of working with the Afghan interim government to curtail such nefarious activities will be reciprocated by the Afghan interim government?
Well, I think, thank you very much for asking the very important question. I think enough is enough. Pakistan had been expecting that perhaps there would be a friendly Taliban government, and we were expecting that Kabul would be able to rein in all those people or all those militant groups which are the TTP, Hafiz Gul Bahadur group, or the TTP, and other splinter, the Moment Taliban, the Bajod Agency Taliban. So we were expecting that perhaps the interim Kabul government would be going all out against them and would be rooting them out, or they would be at least asked to disarm. Even we have the first leg of negotiation in the last few months that there should be a kind of a reconciliatory effort to bring those people back to the normal life. Even it was decided that they would be reintegrated into the society when they are coming back, and if they are willing to lay down their arms. But I think that thing didn't work. Now, there are 2 important issues which the Kabul government is faced. First of all, I don't think so they have the will to target or stop these TTP and other splinter groups who are constantly targeting the Pakistani
But
security
why is
forces.
that? Why is that, Zahir Sahab? Why is that?
Well, actually, there are 2 important reasons. First, perhaps they are, justifying it. Perhaps those TTP people, they fought alongside with the Taliban, and they were part of that jihad which they fought against the occupant forces inside Afghanistan. This is one reason. The second reason, which most of the people would believe, the Kabul government don't have, writ on some of those areas along the Pak-Afghan border where these militant groups are having a safe haven, and they don't. What I believe, this is the second reason that they could not carry out proper military operations or action against them. And as far as negotiation, perhaps they are negotiating, but the TTP has their own stance. They wanted that, like Afghanistan, they wanted to Islamize Pakistan and establish a Sharia government here. So they have their own justification. But Kabul has totally failed to stop these militant groups, whether it is a TTP or Al Qaeda or the ISS or some other groups, which are even the ETIM and the BLA, because these all groups are actually having access there. They have safe havens there. They are being supported by the anti Pakistan forces. It's the Indian Raw is there. They are supporting those elements. They are providing them different kind of assistances. Some of my sources are even saying the TTP people are even trained along the bordering areas, and they are being funded by the Raw and some of those hostile countries which wanted Pakistan destabilized. So this is a very serious issue. Now, the Foreign Office and the Defense Minister's stance apart, because Pakistan would never like to open a new front on its western border. We already have a hostile, enemy on the eastern border. But that hostile enemy is now constantly being engaged in activities inside Afghanistan. During the previous regime, they had been doing it. Now, what we have seen now, the Indians have given a free visa entry to the Afghan nationals, and even they are negotiating with the Taliban. So I think this is a very serious, and the Pakistani concerns are very genuine. And the strike which was carried out, I think it was very much justified, because those elements who come across the border, target the Pakistani security forces, and then get back and have safe havens, they issue statement from there. They are using the Afghan SIMs. and constantly operating from there. There are a number of calls, a number of suicide attacks which had happened in the last 4 or 5 months in this North Waziristan and DA Khan, in South Waziristan, in other parts of the country. They have links to the militant elements which are based in Afghanistan. So I think on one side, the diplomatic justifications asking Taliban and Kabul to control these elements, this is justified. But if Pakistan need to secure its security forces, defend its borders, I think it has every right to carry out any kind of strike against those elements which are bordering in the no man's land. I think if Kabul don't have the will, they don't have the access, they don't have access to carry out such kind of military operations. They don't want to do it. I think Pakistan must have to do it, and I think it's enough is enough. We had been negotiating with the interim Kabul government to stop these elements, and they should be taken to task. But if Kabul has failed, then Pakistan has every justification to secure its border and its countrymen as well as its security forces.
All
Yes,
right,
Omar.
Zahir Sahab, also I'd like to refer to two statements which I feel are important coming from the spokesperson of the Foreign Office. She said, firstly, we will only take any action in any direction. Of course, this was in reference to what happened on the 18th, dialogue or otherwise, depending on the situation that arises. Again, we will only take any action in any direction, dialogue or otherwise. Then she said that the action of March 18 was taken after concerted deliberations within the government. It had full ownership of the country's leadership. Then I'd like to refer to what our Defence Minister Khawaja Asif Saab said, and he referred to force being the last resort and that they do not want an armed conflict with Afghanistan. How do you take these statements? B, what should, in your point of view, be Pakistan's counter-terrorism strategy vis-a-vis Afghanistan?
Well, Pakistan is very open now, and now we don't have any concept of a good or bad Taliban. The recent attack, which was carried out in North Waziristan, it was carried out by the Hafiz group, Bahadur group of the TTP, which was once, friendly
Considered a
Taliban
good
or
Taliban.
Taliban. Yes, and now they are attacking. They are carrying out attacks. They have aligned themselves with the IS. They are aligned with the other elements which are destabilizing Pakistan. And there are two reasons. First, they need a kind of symbiotic relationship for a shelter. So those groups which are in Paktika, Host, and the bordering Kunard province along the Pak-Afghan border, perhaps there are those areas which don't have the Afghan Taliban checkposts. These are very no-go areas. On the Pakistani side, Pakistan is defending its border through fencing the border. They have established more than almost 30 to 35 extra security checkposts along all this border, but you could not find any checkposts from the Afghan side. So that means the militant elements, the terrorist elements, they are enjoying a safe heavens there. And this is the reason the Pakistani Taliban, who are ousted from the tribal areas, from Bajor, from North Waziristan, from South Waziristan, they have entered into a kind of symbiotic relationship with these elements, and they are sheltering them. So this is the second point. As far as the Foreign Office and the Defense Minister's statement is concerned, Pakistan is a peaceful country, no doubt. We haven't included into Afghan soil. All the time we have seen, the attacks are coming from the Afghan side. The TTP, the ISIS, the Daesh, the other splinter groups which are claiming attacks, they have their leadership inside Afghanistan, and Kabul has failed to take action against them. Yes, we are speaking to them. We have conveyed to them a number of times. But if Kabul is unable or it is unwilling to take action, then Pakistan don't have a choice. So I think it's very much clear. Second, perhaps Pakistan could not afford in such a fragile economic situation. We cannot afford another wave of terrorism. We cannot afford attacks on our security forces. Now, the tribal areas are very important because we have mineral reserves there. We have mineral resources there. And one such attack, it gave a very negative message to the entire world that Pakistan is still a destabilized country hit by terrorists. But another thing, I think, Umar, we should be keeping in mind that not only the Kabul government, it is also looking for some other avenues. It is directly interacting with the US. It is directly interacting with the Indian government. maybe with the Ra even, for moral support, for technical support, for equipping their security forces, which are a ragtag army. We cannot say that the Taliban army is a full-fledged trained army. And some of my sources are saying even now the Indians have started providing them a technical support now how in the air force, and perhaps they are likely to kind of open some training school of air force there and equip and strengthen the Afghan air force. So that would be another added problem for Pakistan. So I think not only diplomatic and peaceful measures, the Kabul should be engaged, message should be conveyed not only to Kabul but also to the international community. Now the US is there. US has shown its concern about such attacks, and they have also warned Kabul to stop such activities. Perhaps all this mess, which has been created, is the third time the Allied forces have left Afghanistan unattended. Still, it is unattended. So, not only diplomatic engagements, but we also have to clarify to the international community that if Pakistan is destabilized from Afghan side, then Pakistan has the right to carry out any kind of assault to protect its sovereignty, its citizen, and its armed forces, as well as to safeguard its interests.
A couple of comments, Zahir Saab, from Khawaja Asif, and I'd like you weighing those statements. He says a message needed to be sent that the cross-border terrorism has grown too much. He says that we cannot continue like this. He also said that Islamabad can block the Afghan corridor if it provided to Afghanistan for trade with India, and that Pakistan has the right to stop facilitating Kabul if it failed to curb terrorists operating on Afghan soil against Pakistan. He said, and I quote also, if Afghanistan treats us like an enemy, then why should we give them a trade corridor? How do you weigh these statements?
Well, I think Khawaja Asif might have his own interpretations, but one thing should be very much realistic. Now, Kabul is not relying on us. It has, gone to the Iranian side. They are trading with Iran. They are looking toward the Central Asian states, and they have their own interest. And I've also heard that perhaps they are also trying to open the Wakhan corridor. So I think even if Pakistan stopped the trade corridor with Afghanistan, they are looking for multiple avenues, and they are trying. The Bandar Abbas, for example, there is a single example that we would have more than 5 billion of more of Afghan transit trade through our borders, from Torkham border, from Ghulam Khan, from other bordering crossing points. But now that trade has been shifted toward Iran. From Bandar Abbas, this entire Afghan transit trade is going on. And Iran is another outlet from where the Afghan and the Kabul government is trying to do trade. And all those, illegal stuff which is coming again into the Pakistani side, it is destroying the Pakistani economy. So we have to keep in mind that too. Second, they are looking towards Indians for trade activities, and we have seen a number of engagements going on between them. They have both the government, Kabul and Delhi, they have given free visa entry status to the countrymen. This is for the medical purposes, but I think a lot of people are going in and out, so that is also dangerous for Pakistan. So Pakistan must have to take concrete measures. I think we cannot put ban or ban trade between the two countries. That would be destructive for both of us. But if Kabul start looking for some other venues, then we would be out of it. And perhaps the international powers now, we have seen a lot of US presence there. We have seen direct Chinese presence there. They are directly working with the Kabul government. The Indian companies are there, the telecom companies, the computer companies. So I think if we are pressurizing on one side, we must have to engage Kabul in meaningful dialogue, because we are neighbors. We cannot change their neighbors. But yes, an important thing is we cannot.
Zahir Saab, this is what the spokesperson also said, that we want a constructive relationship with Afghanistan, and we will continue to work towards building that constructive relationship. Finally, speaking of relationships, do you feel there's a working relationship between the TTP and other militant organizations such as the BLA? Do you feel this nexus can somehow be broken?
Well, I think, BLA, TTP, ETIM, IS, and you can name any splinter group which is inside Afghanistan. They are in close coordination for two reasons. First, the Pakistani militant groups, which are the TTP, the Hafiz Gul Bahadur group, and a number of other splinter groups from Aurangzeb, from Bajor, from Momand, who have joined Daesh. They are getting a shelter there, and they are collaborating with each other. They are supporting each other, because I think ISS is a serious threat to the Kabul government also, because they had been in odd with the Afghan Taliban. They had been attacking them, and perhaps it is also a potential threat for Afghanistan's security as well. And all the economic activities which the Kabul government or the Taliban government is looking for, perhaps it is also linked to the peaceful environment there. So I think it is destructive for both. It would undermine the security of Afghan as well as Pakistani tribal areas, as well as even destabilize the Kabul interim government. I don't think so that if we are not engaging or we are not cooperating on the issue of terrorism and rooting out these militant groups and terrorist groups, it would be undermining the security of Kabul as well as Islamabad. So I think it would be in the interest of both the countries. They should sit together. They should have a dialogue. And I don't think so. There is a lot of differences. I think these border clashes are a routine thing. But yes, terrorism and cross-border terrorism is a very serious concern for Pakistan, and Pakistan has a justification to take up these issues. Otherwise, the trade activities, it is what I believe, the trade activities are beneficial for both the economy of Pakistan as well as Afghanistan.
But the fact is, Zahir Sahab, Afghanistan needs to, do the needful and correct whatever it has been doing, remedy all these, militant organizations that have been gaining foothold in Afghanistan. It needs to stop them or curtail their activities, or if they want to, they can do whatever they want in Afghanistan, but not, extend beyond Afghanistan and enter other neighborhood countries like Pakistan. And this is something that Pakistan has said time and again. Also, Khawaja Asif Sahab had gone with a delegation in February, in fact, to Afghanistan to talk about that. Thank you very much, Zahir Sherazi Sahab, senior analyst, to have joined us, to have talked to us about this. This is something that is ongoing, and I really hope that Afghanistan understands the complexities around this situation and the havoc it is creating for countries such as Pakistan before it's way too late. Thank you, sir, to have joined us. Let's come to our second segment, where, of course, we all know about the nefarious activities that the RAW has been involved in, whether it be transnational, trans-regional, and we've seen the involvement in the US, we've seen in Canada, we've seen in the United Kingdom, we've also seen in Pakistan, and Pakistan has highlighted that time and again. But now there's a report by Bloomberg that also highlights this and confirms the involvement of an Indian official as being behind the assassination attempt on Pannu, who's a Sikh leader residing in the US and of course a US national, to discuss different aspects of the functioning of the RAW and how they have been gaining foothold and how they have been perpetrating this terrorism in different regions, including in Pakistan. We've been joined by two guests. I'll introduce my first guest and then we'll go later to our second guest. Our first guest in the studio is Syed Aleem Gillani. He's a regional affairs expert. Aleem, thank you very much to have joined us. Pleasure to have you back in the show. Let's begin with you. The Indian intelligence agency RAW, run by Narendra Modi, and we all know that, and we have to highlight it time and again because apparently the world does not understand what we are trying to say. It has become a gang of hired goons, mercenaries and murders as is rampant and is evident with the different attempts that we have seen in the US, in Canada, in Pakistan, in the United Kingdom. Indian agents, it has been confirmed, were involved in the conspiracy to kill the Sikh leader Pannu in the US, according to an official investigation in India, if no other place but India. Do you feel that comes as a surprise, and what should be the measures now that need to be taken by India, which I don't think it will take, but by the West?
Omar, thank you for having me on to talk on a very important aspect today. For me, I would like to say that it's not a surprise at all. Why? Because the Indian dictatorial regime is fond of taking such kind of decisions. We've seen that in past. If you chronologically put this entire equation in a chronological order, you will see the entire story revolving around two characters. One was the assassination attempt plotted against the Gurbachev Singh himself, and then the Indian national Nikhail, who was basically arrested in Czech Republic and waiting for extradition to United States of America. Now the story starts. in international relations, what we do is we segregate the analysis on the individual level of the personality of a leader, like the personality of Narendra Modi, and then on the global level, how the state behaves in international arena. On that context, you will see there are 3 events that are in chronology. One, this one, the recent attempt. The last year, you know, they assassinated the Sikh in the Canada, when then the Canadians have the issue with them. Then, if you, I would like to draw your attention when the missile event took place. The Mia Channu event was happened, and BrahMos missile, a fully capable missile of carrying a nuclear, device, was sent to Pakistan, and no excuse was acknowledged at the end of the Indians. They only said it was a malfunctioning event, and that's it. And where is the take of the United States on that area? Now today we will see how the India is evolving their foreign policy accordingly. In the current scenario, why the Indians are so able to make the international community dupe is based on the premise that they propagated this notion across the globe that they are just like them. They are so secular in their approach. But on the contrary, if you meticulously examine their approach in the reality, it is other way around. They are kind of a dictatorial, be it on the as you start with your argument, they are a bunch of goons in the vernacular media. What they are doing, anyone who is pointing a finger against the policy of Modi regime, he is considered as a traitor. He is considered as a one who is not loyal to India. Here another important point is there is a dichotomy between being nationalist and being chauvinistic in your approach. There is a hell lot of difference between chauvinism and nationalism. If you are patriot to your country, everyone is. But if you believe in the exaggerated form of nationalism, where you believe that India is only for the people who have the religion of Hindus, then it is a problematic front. So to grasp and to comprehend whatever you have recently stated, I believe that India for the first time has been bitterly exposed on the front in a chronological event. But in the later part we will see why the international community is duped in this part.
You know, there's something that's very interesting, Aleem, in all of this is that as per the Bloomberg report, the Indian investigation terms the agent, or the ex-agent, I don't know, whatever, howsoever you want to place it, of the Indian intelligence agency as being a rogue agent, that it was somehow done without the authorization of the Indian government, without the government patronage, let's put it that way. Do you feel, I mean, it brings me to the fore, has this Indian research and analysis wing become now Indian rogue assassins wing?
This is what they create a pretext. How come, Umar, even you think of it, that without the consent of the government, they can do such kind of activities? And time and again it was repeated. In the case of Mia Channu, they said it was misfired and we are conducting a trial. Again, in the case of current scenario, they are saying it is done without our consent. How come a full-fledged attack has been planned without the consent of Narendra Modi himself? And here I would like to draw this entire episode towards how the Indian foreign policy has been formulated. See, in history, they have influence from the Chanakya, who is a realist, and he believed in the tactics of concealed warfare. Instead of going a full-fledged war against any country, what he believes in, that you create such kind of spies in network, you assassinate anyone who is actually confronting your narrative across the globe. That's why I was trying to highlight in the first part that there is a famous book written from the Indian author, From Chanakya to Modi, The Evolution of Indian Foreign Policy. And in that book, you will be shocked to see that how they are actually implementing the same school of thought here.
That is so true. This school of thought is being implemented even more ferociously, aggressively with every passing day. Now that the Indian elections are also about to happen in a couple of weeks' time. Dr. Asma Shakir Khawaja, regional affairs expert, also joins us online. Dr. Sahiba, thank you very much to have joined us after quite a bit of a hiatus. Let's come to the Indian confession of this whole conspiracy around the assassination attempt of Mr. Pannu. Doesn't this expose the murders that are being committed by the intelligence agency RAW across the world? Don't you feel that RAW is now setting new examples of extremism or even terrorism by following Modi's Hindutva ideology? In your point of view, why is there no proper action taken by international the bodies or countries that have been the victim of raw? And secondly, do you feel India will be given a free hand to continue its international transborder extremism and terrorism, given the fact that a lot of countries feel it has a geostrategic importance?
India would be given free hand, but definitely in the response of international community is quite, I would say, blur. When we see that how Canada responded and how Indian government responded to Canada's reaction for killing Canadian citizens by Indian officials, that was also created a deterrence for international community that India or Modi would not play on the back foot, but they were playing at front foot. So this again, this case of killing Sikh, plotting the killing of Sikh leader, reminds me that see, when Sikhs demanded their rights, Sikh genocide happened in India, and they were killed massively. And I few days back I was reading the reports of that Sikh genocides, and the highlight was the culprits of that genocides are still free, and the no justice was given to the Sikh families. Similarly, those who were killed in Canada, and no justice has been given to their families. So this is only the extension of Modi's or Indian government's policy to kill all alternate voices, to not to address grievances of their own citizens, and using killing as the option to silence the silent people who are not agreed with the ongoing policies of Indian government. So very sadly, international community unfortunately is only viewing, the only prism international community is using to view India is a competitor of China, is to promote India as a guardian of Western interest vis-a-vis China in global South. And this is all international community is focusing on, unfortunately, without realizing that the boogie they are creating and appreciating and facilitating the arrogance, the aggression. They are facilitating that would become a threat for them as well one day. So in their quest, or I would say obsession to counter China, unfortunately they are not dealing with India the way India should be dealt, especially when Indian rogue agency raw, after the acceptance of Indian government that an officer of raw on independently plotted the killing of the Sikh US citizen. I have no doubt. I have, but to call raw a rogue element, and especially this rogue element is accessing the international world and the, outside their border, the border of India, and questioning, challenging the sovereignty of not only the developing states but the developed states as well. Here, I would also like to add, when I use the term developing state, that raw Indian agency raw conducted such mass killings, such killings in Pakistan as well, for they to kill the people who had dissented voices, or who don't agree with the policies of Indian government. So this regional and extra regional outreach of raw makes it a a rogue organization which is threat to the international status quo, and which is ready. They didn't plot any killing in China. Let me say that. They plotted killing in the West, in the Canada, in USA, which are developed, responsible states. And this is what and how raw and Indian government has the view of the self, and this reflects upon their worldview when they are even unable to respect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of developed countries. So we have to keep it in mind, but West should realize that India, number one, would not compete China to protect the interests of the West, never. And in that under that scenario, the all the military aid, the diplomatic support, the ignoring the aggressive postures and policies of Indian government, the rise of in no, use the term rise, but actually the fascist Hindutva, which is damaging in not only India, the region, and the international security as
But
well.
that is so true.
That
That is so true. That is so true. In fact, Dr. Asma, that this is an ideology. This is a philosophy that is damaging not only India itself, but also all the other countries in the region through the propagation of all the what the Hindutva or the Chanakya philosophy stands for. Stay online with us, Dr. Saiba. Aleem, I'd like to understand. On Wednesday, Assistant Secretary of State of the US, Donald Lu, was asked about the matter of course, of what happened with the assassination attempt of a Sikh leader in the US at a US House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing in Washington. And he said the US has asked India to work quickly and transparently to make sure justice is done. The Biden administration also, he said, takes the allegations of attempted murder incredibly seriously and have raised this at the highest levels with India. If the US does take this matter extremely seriously, why isn't a pressure tactic or a tangible action policy being undertaken by the US vis-a-vis India?
Omar, as I previously stated, previously Indians were very adroit at setting this discourse across the globe that they are actually the defenders, they are not the aggressors. For the first time, the realization was mutual in Canada and America that this thing is going beyond control, and you should know the dynamics of South Asia, that the United States of America wants to pitch the Indians against China, and they are on convergence of interest. Even then, they are giving a very explicit message, as you rightly pointed out, that they should create a very refined sort of investigation into the matter, and they should bring the perpetrators to the justice. The issue is that Indians are not showing any integrity. They have developed this aura that as the entire world is depending on them, and they can do whatever they can feel like. Just to quote from the inner side, Lawrence Vishnogi, why you are forgetting him in the game? Whosoever inside India, for instance, the Naxalite movements or the Khalistan movement, is arguing against the narrative of India, particularly the Modi regime. What they did globally, they start sending their raw covert action divisions. And Umar, I guess it is in your notice that the one who is been considered for this entire plot, he is a senior field officer of the intelligence. You can understand the gravity of the issue, that for the first time, be it Kulbhushan Yadav, be it this gentleman, everything is evident to the West. If they are reticent, it is because of the reason that they have a convergence of interest with India, particularly to contain China. Apart from it, nothing is left, in a black area.
All right. Dr. Asma, India hasn't made public any details of the high-level committee that has been set up to investigate the US allegations, including who is on it and the status of the probe. Do you feel India is afraid of the results of the investigation being made public, the truth coming out, and the repercussions for India itself?
I think the committee is only an eyewash. So that because there is not a standard, credible, legitimate committee exists, that is why the proceedings and the members of the committee never been made public. And this is the reason. And when they say that a raw officer was involved without the information of the higher command, that is so vague that that does the raw official had a personal enmity with the US citizen, and if it has, how he utilized the billions or millions, at least millions of dollars, because killing an individual, that too in USA, is not a task which doesn't cost much money. It costs a lot of money. So how that, to me, it is like a storytelling exercise by Indian government. But the irony is, at least this is at the government and official level. They are telling this vague story that a raw officer without any connection or any enmity or any what are the sources of income of that raw officers that he funded all this cartel or network to kill the US citizen. So this all story is vague, and that is why India did not make the panel, the investigation agency, the investigation committee ever public, because no such thing exists, because at the first place they know that how RAW as an organization on the behest of Indian government conducted this illegal, illegitimate activity. Their only concern is that they have been caught. They have been caught by Canada, they have been caught by the USA, and that is their only concern. And then this ongoing billions of dollars deal of defense deal between India and USA, that is an important concern for Indian government, and they in any case they want to fetch that deal and materialize that deal, and that is why they are sharing such naive stories with the US government. But I am sure, knowing the decision making processes and thought processes of the American governance and system, I don't believe and I don't think that it would be that easy for the US government to accept the story told by Indian government. And
All right.
this also one point. This also reminds me that when we see India recently tested its missile. So when I say that Indian ambitions are not regional, they are not about global South, because all those missiles India tested, they were intercontinental ballistic missiles. So why, if Russia, China, Pakistan are situated in the continent Asia, then why India wants to cross Asia and reach to Europe, America, and other continent through their nuclear capable ballistic intercontinental ballistic missile? So but these are the issues which West needs to understand. We cannot knock any sense in their head when they are obsessed by this competition or anti-China rhetoric, and their policy making is being
And also they are obsessed with
great.
this whole Hindutva policy, Dr. Asma Shakir Khawaja. They are obsessed with it. They are obsessed with the implementation of it to the entire of India and even beyond India. The whole concept of Akhand Bharat, of course, is a part of that. Thank you very much, Dr. Asma Shakir Khawaja Sahiba, to have joined us and to have talked to us about this very important issue. And thank you so very much, Aleem, also to have come in the studios and you discussed this thing that needs to be reiterated time and again. We don't see that being highlighted much, and I think we need to highlight it as much as possible to expose the true face of India and to expose the true face of the nefarious activities that it has been involved in and continues to involve itself in, not only transnationally in Pakistan but also across the continents. Thank you very much, Aleem, to have joined us again. Let's come to our last two stories very quickly. The first concerns the global sea levels that have jumped due to the El Nino phenomenon. This has been confirmed by NASA. Now the global average sea levels rose by 0.3 inches, nearly 4 times the increase from the previous year. This NASA-led analysis is based on more than 30 years of satellite observations. They have increased by about 4 inches since 1993. The rate of increase is also accelerated, more than doubling from 0.07 inches per year in 1989 to the current rate of 0.17 inches per year. And of course, this is due to many reasons, which also includes climate change as the main perpetrator behind it. The scientists say this is going to create a future where flooding will be more frequent and catastrophic than today. And of course, the immediate cause of the spike is the El Nino phenomenon, which replaced the La Nina phenomenon from 2021 to 2022, when the sea levels rose about 0.08 inches. The El Nino phenomenon, as you very well know, involves warmer than average ocean temperatures in the equatorial Pacific. So, of course, cause of concern, and that adds to all the concerns that the world has as far as climate change and its effects is concerned. Finally, today is the World Water Day. The theme this year is Water for Peace. Now, action for water is, of course, action for peace, and today we need that more than ever. We also know, that our world is in turbulent waters. We have conflicts, we have inequality, we have pollution, biodiversity loss. The planet is heating up, the seas are rising, rain patterns are changing, river flows are shrinking, and this results in different phenomena, whether it be droughts in some regions or it be flooding in other regions. We've seen that in 2022. Pollution, overconsumption, of course, also is impeding the access to clean water on which all life depends. This is also increasing the risk of conflict. So this is all interrelated. Water for peace, that is why it is the theme this year for the International Waters Day. Only 153 countries share water resources as present. Only 24 have reported cooperation agreements for all their shared. But there needs to be more cooperation. There needs to be more of an effort as far as water is concerned. We don't need to go for wars on water in the future. We need to go for peace and cooperation as far as water is concerned. That is what the International Day of Water reminds us of. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with a special on the 23rd of March. Till then, stay tuned and have a wonderful Friday evening. And of course, see you tomorrow for the 23rd of March. Allah Hafiz.